What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast, where I'm joined by Chris Terzakos, where we're going to talk about testosterone and how to boost that naturally. But first and foremost, Chris, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, it's honestly a blessing, and this is something that piques my interest because it's something that I feel is really missing out in this day and age. And I know we're going to jump into it, but
Okay.
first and foremost, man, like give us a little bit of a background on yourself and what got you started on this journey.
Okay. So basically, as a young guy, I was always into fitness. I always trained my whole life. I came pretty close to playing Major League Baseball. I was scouted by the Cincinnati Reds back in my high school days. Unfortunately, I didn't get that far, because you got to be a really superior player. So throughout that, I was always an athlete. I was always playing sports, always in the gym, lifting, doing cardio. So in my journey, I was also a leader in my job that I did. I worked for a company for 18 years, and then I opened up my own construction business. I help people with unions, throughout New York City. I'm born and raised in New York City. I live in Florida now. I'm going to be 64 years old. I'm here to share my story with all you young guys.
Nice. And I'm glad to hear that because I mean, for 64, you look fantastic, man.
I
And,
appreciate it.
and honestly, I think that probably comes, with the practice that you probably started to put in place. But when was it where you realized you're like, hey, you know what, my testosterone might not be optimal, and there's certain things that I can probably do to change it. At what time did that happen? Because I imagine that probably something probably woke up in you where you're like, hey, man, I need to do something.
Right. Okay. Good question, man. I like the question. So yeah, when I turned 52 years old, um, I felt like I was losing it. I was
Hmm.
getting tired. I was in the gym. I was losing some strength. So I talked to a couple of guys, and one guy says, why don't you go on some testosterone? I said, really? He said, yeah, yeah, just check it out, see if you like it. You go on an 8-week cycle. I said, okay, cool. So 52 years old, without a doctor's consent, I started injecting, PEDs.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, um, I, I don't promote it, because I know where it's going to take you, and I'll explain to you as we go along. It's called in the gym. It's called juice.
Hmm.
It's the truth. It's like liquid gold.
Hmm.
Uh, I couldn't believe the elevation that I got from it. I was bench pressing 375. I was curling like 80-pound dumbbells. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I the truth, I was beating up my body. I I,
Yeah.
re- I really wasn't like sculpturing. I was beating up my body for no reason. I'm 52 years old, 53. So this went on, CJ, for about I did 2 cycles a year, and I did it for 7 years. At the age of 59, I said, I got to change my life. I got to get off this stuff. So I went off of it. And again, the same thing happened. Started feeling tired, no ambition. My libido was low. My mental health wasn't. I wasn't in the right place. I said, I got to go to a doctor. So I went to a doctor. Uh, I went to a conventional doctor. Took a blood test, and my exam came back at 81, testosterone level 81. Now, for you guys out there, if you have a testosterone level 81, you got to consider what you're going to do with your life,
Hmm.
because 81, you're a candidate for TRT.
Yeah.
All right, TRT means testosterone replacement therapy. So there, with that, you go to a doctor twice a month. You inject yourself twice a week, which they call microdosing, and to build up your testosterone level. So you go twice a month. You got all the side effects. One could be a heart attack or stroke. Your red blood cell count goes up. Your blood pressure goes up. your prostate, enlarged prostate. So after all this, back and forth, it's like ping pong. I said, you know what? I got to think of another way to do this.
Yeah.
So I did hours and hours of research. I tested things, not anything away from testosterone. So I started going on my own program. That's why I wrote this book. I figured out a way to do this on my own without TRT. So I went to a holistic doctor, which is, normally holistic doctors, they don't recommend conventional medicine, which would be TRT. They want you to self-heal, which I'm a firm believer of self-healing. I self-healed a lot of injuries in my life without going to doctors. I'm not a fan of going to doctors. So I went to a holistic doctor, took about 50, 60 blood exams. So, and this was after I went on my program. So, and I'll talk about my program also. So, when I got tested and the results were 81, 8 months later after my program, the holistic doctor got my results back 8 months later, and she read off your testosterone level now is 648.
Damn.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm here to tell you guys, it's in my book, but I'm here to tell you how I did it.
That's super interesting. Well, I mean, honestly, I know there's a lot of things that we're doing right now that are wrong. Like, luckily for myself, it's one of those things that, I've always kind of been aware of. And I've been looking into microplastic, the xenoestrogens, the obesogens, all that kind of crap in our food. But, I know that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. But first and foremost, like, what was the first thing that you said you either took out or you implemented? What was like the initial big one where you're just like, okay, I got to get this out of my life? Was it plastics or how did it go for you?
Well, the first thing what started my program um, was sleep.
Oh,
Sleep. So you guys out there, sleep. When you're sleeping, that's the best time you're producing testosterone, when you're sleeping. So back then, I'm only sleeping 5, 6 hours a night.
yeah, yeah,
So 5 or 6 hours a night is not enough. So through the research, sleep was one of the items. So I started going to bed early. Oh, by the way, going on my program or doing this yourself, you got to be disciplined and dedicated, and you must have patience.
hmm,
Okay, you could always go and take a needle, inject yourself, and in 2 weeks your testosterone level shoots to the roof. But there's consequences with that,
yeah,
because once you do that, and then you don't shoot yourself with testosterone, guess what? You got no testosterone.
yep,
Your body stops, it shuts down, it stops producing testosterone.
yeah.
So first thing is, and it's in my book. I'll share a couple of things that are in the book with you, CJ. Sleep is very important. If you can get minimum of 7, but if you can get 8 or 9 hours of solid sleep, you're good. That's when your testicles, they shoot a burst of testosterone through your up to your brain, through your receptors. They feed all the tissues. All the tissues now in your body get fed testosterone, and you're good.
Yeah.
That's how it basically works through science.
Interesting. And I mean, it's one of those key things, and it's funny because when you mentioned it, I laugh where I'm like, you know what? That's the one that everybody glosses over. And it's probably the most important thing that we can do when we have full control of it this whole time. But and I
Exactly.
mean, even to your point, man, where it's like I know this, I'm conscious about it, but even then, even I forget about it, right? And it's one of those
Okay.
things that I think we take for granted. And to your point, the one thing that I think is important that everybody pay attention to is what you just mentioned. There was 8 or 9 hours of good sleep and deep REM cycles. What does that really look like in regards to like good sleep versus people that are getting up like every 3 hours?
Well, I do understand people get up because they have to go to the bathroom. They have to urinate throughout the night. But that's another topic of how to
Yeah,
avoid. how to avoid going to the bathroom, at night. I do know one thing: you should not drink anything past 7 o'clock at night. 7 o'clock at night, you should just have your last glass of water and then call it a night. So that's another subject, though.
Yeah.
Getting off the testosterone stuff. Um, the other thing to do to raise your testosterone naturally is natural vitamin D sunlight. If
Sunlight.
you can get, yeah, if you can
Yeah.
get into the sun, I live in Florida now, which I'm grateful for. But I do get it, Chicago, New York, all these other places. They don't get a lot of sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the whole year, 12 months. But if you can get into the sun, vitamin D is so essential to increasing testosterone level. Is vitamin D. I walk my dog. I got a big Italian cane corso. Cane corso is my best friend. Him and I, buds, we walk 15, 20 minutes. We walk 4 or 5 times a day. So I'm getting good sunlight. And
Yeah.
I know the sunlight is, coming into my body. I know my testosterone levels are pretty good. My hormone balance is actually excellent right
Yeah. No, and I mean, to your point, man, I wish I had that because I live in Canada and we get
now.
about 3 months of sun. So, I take
Oh
full
yeah,
advantage of it
yeah.
right now. And that's the
Okay,
thing.
yeah,
It's kind of like, I feel the difference. So, like during the sunshine or when there's sunshine in the summer, it's like I
yeah.
feel energized, man. I feel completely different. And then during the winter months, I mean, that's kind of what I've read into too. It's like suicide rates are higher, depression, anxiety, all these things really shoot up. I'm like, is there a correlation? Is there some
Right.
type of connection there? I think so.
Okay, so yeah, you know what? And I feel you on that because um, when you have that break in weather, because you live in Canada, I'm going to tell you what I would do. What I would do is because I did it in New York, I would go on heavy doses of vitamin D supplements.
Yeah.
I would load up on vitamin. You can't overdose on vitamin D, by the way, and
Yeah.
there's no side effect to vitamin D. So you could load up on your vitamin D and stay active in the gym, or
Gotcha.
or or if you work out at home. If you work out at home, super. Another thing, if you can do HITT, I call it anabolic exercise.
Yeah.
Um, it's high intensity interval training. So here you are, you're lifting, and okay, you're lifting, say, I would say about 10 minutes, 15 minutes straight, you're lifting. Stop lifting for a moment, get on a treadmill, and do 3 1-minute sprints as fast as you can run, and then get back on lifting. That'll increase your testosterone like that 30% right away.
Yeah. So doing hit
So
training as well. Yeah, no. I mean, that's the one thing that I've heard about as well. It's kind of like when people talk about the difference between sprinting and long distance sports, right? It's kind of you look at the sprinter and he's jacked, and they say a lot of it has to do with elevated testosterone levels, whereas, with endurance runners, it can actually obviously excessive amounts of anything can be bad, but when you look at, excessive amounts of endurance training, you'll actually find that their testosterone levels drop.
right,
So to your point, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. A little bit of hit training, much vitamin D, sunlight,
right,
good sleep.
right.
No,
There
it
you
sounds like
go.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So right there, you're okay because you don't have that much sunlight. But if you stay on that regimen, you'll be good. Your testosterone will maintain itself. They'll. Oh, by the way, our testosterone, us guys, the best time during the day is the morning. Your
Morning.
testosterone, for example, could be 700 in the morning, and then at nighttime when you go to sleep, the testosterone could be 500.
Damn.
It's lower at night, always higher in the morning.
Yeah. Well, no, I've heard that before, but it's kind of like at the end of the day, probably the stress and whatever happens, probably give it a little bit of a knock. But another question I had in regards to vitamin D, is there a specific type of vitamin D? Because I've looked in like vitamin D3 plus K2, it's better for absorption and stuff. Is there any that you recommend or what is it that you take?
No, I'm on vitamin D3.
D3?
That's what
Gotcha.
vitamin D3. It's straight up vitamin D3. I think it's 2,000 IU's.
Yeah,
So if I can't get sun, say today, I can't get sun, I'm going to take two pills. So
gotcha.
I'm taking 4,000 IU's in a day. That's what I'll do. Once I'm in the sun, I don't go near the supplement because I don't need the supplement. I'm getting
Yeah.
natural, I'm getting natural sunlight, you know? So, what I do know is that the young people today, and I feel for the young guys because, you know, throughout college, whether they play, sports, football, baseball, lacrosse, right now, it's they took a survey and 15 and 20% of high school kids are injecting themselves with PEDs, with
Oh
testosterone
yeah.
and all kinds of steroids.
Yep.
Okay. And the high school kids, they don't know what's going to happen later on. They don't
No.
they don't know that. So,
No.
if your audience is listening and you're a young guy and you're taking PEDs, I know you look good. I know you feel good. You're getting a lot of attention from not only women, but men always pay attention to guys that are in good shape. I'm aware of that because, everybody wants to know, hey, how'd you get that? How'd you get
Yeah.
that body? They all want to know how you got that body. But guess what? You might look good on the outside, but on the inside, you're not good.
Yeah. And the thing is too, it's kind of like we're starting to see more of I think with social media too, it's kind of opened our eyes in a good way and in a negative way as well. And the reason why I say negative as well is because you can kind of see the ill effects of what steroids can do to young people. I mean, recently Joe Linder, the dude that died, he was in his 30s, or he just turned 30.
Right.
And they were talking about excessive amounts of juice. And I mean, there's a lot more to it. I'm not a doctor. I haven't seen the autopsy, right? But
Right.
obviously we know that steroids are going to play a role into this guy's demise, right? Like it just happens. And with other bodybuilders too, like Gustavo Badella just died as well.
Yeah.
And I mean,
36 of them. CJ, 36 bodybuilders died. 36.
and we know why. I mean, it's a combination of high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
cholesterol levels get out of whack, and the thing is, it's just there's so many different things and different ways that it can really, I don't know, disrupt the endocrine system. So the way I kind of see it is that if you do want to play that game, at the very least, see your doctor, get your blood work done, and make sure
Absolutely.
you stay on par. If you really want to play that game, or to your point, and I think the way that makes the most sense is do it naturally. It takes
Right. Do it.
longer, but
Exactly.
I'm all about it because I did it naturally myself. I didn't know these things. I just worked out hard, went to the gym, ate good, slept good. And
Right.
these are things that led to my gains overall. Did I have the knowledge that I have now? No.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's kind of like if you work hard at it. And now with the amount of information that we have in podcasts like this and you coming on, Chris, I don't take that for granted. We live in a golden age of information. Problem
Right.
is that a lot of kids are also like, perfect, I'll take TRT. It's not steroids. But I'm
Right.
like, now you got to be on it for the rest of your life, right? So to your
Yes.
point, I honestly don't think, it's worth it at a young age.
Right. TRT, CJ, you hit it on the head. It's for the rest of your life. Once you go on TRT, and I understand some people really need it. They just can't produce testosterone. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not against TRT. It's just that I'm not for it. It's not built for me. I'm not going to a doctor twice a month. I'm not going to look for all these side effects. Uh, I'm not going to inject myself twice a week. I'm not doing. Uh, that's not Chris. Chris don't do things like that. I don't rely on something else to make me feel good. I'm going to rely
Yeah.
on me to make me feel good because I know I practice self love. So,
Yeah.
with that said, I like to educate the audience because I want to talk about things that you should not eat that'll interfere with your testosterone. There's a lot of food that people are eating that'll louse up your hormones. A
Well,
lot of food.
let's talk about some of these. I think I might know a couple, but hey, man, this is
Okay.
definitely one of those topics that I think you can
Awesome.
never go deep enough into because there's always more to learn and more, let's just
Okay.
say, offensive foods out there.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about foods that you should not be eating because if you eat them, you're not going to have testosterone. It's not going to produce testosterone. So let's begin with sugar.
Gotcha.
We all know sugar is bad for you to begin with, right?
Yeah.
You know, heart attack, strokes, mental health. Sugar's like a drug.
Yeah.
It, I watch people, they put in a diner, they shake a bag of eight bags of sugar. I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And let me explain to you why you should not be eating sugar. Cakes, cookies. Forget about the health of it. on testosterone topic, when you eat anything related to sugar, sugar increases insulin. When your insulin level goes up, your estrogen level goes up. Those are the two main blockers besides cortisol, which I'll get to, and we'll talk about cortisol. But sugar increases insulin, sugar increases estrogen. Those are two main blockers that will block. Here's my hand. Testosterone's trying to get through. It can't get through to the body. You know why? Your insulin's high and your estrogen's high. So now your testosterone is blocked. So sugar is very important. You should not be having. You should not be having sugar because testosterone it can't penetrate through the tissues. It's blocked, and it won't produce. So sugar was one of them. The other thing was all your trans fats. Now I know people love McDonald's. They love Burger King. They love Taco Bell, which is probably the worst fast food place to go to.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't love you. They love your money, but they don't love you. They're not going to help you in any way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see a McDonald's or Burger King, do yourself a favor. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Trans fat. Trans fat is another food that you should not be eating. Fried chickens, French fries, all that. Anything to do with oil, like Mazola oil, Western oil.
Yeah.
You must get off trans fat. Trans fat, it's an interference. It interferes with testosterone production, and it's just not good for you. Closes your blood vessels. It's just not good for you. People are drinking all these sodas. They buy orange juice from a container. Oh, I'm healthy. I had orange juice. Yeah, you had orange juice, but half of it was sugar.
Yep.
My orange juice that I drink, me and my wife, because we're 100% organic and we eat grass-fed meat. Our orange juice is fresh squeezed orange juice.
It's different.
They're right. Way different. Way different. I live a way different life than most people, and I'm not here to tell anybody to live my life. But you have a choice. You could grow old gracefully, or you could grow old grumpy, and you can be suffering. My father suffered. He's not here today. He passed away a couple of years ago. But I watched my father suffer because he did all the wrong things. Sugar like crazy, donuts, cookies. He loved all that stuff, you know? So on the testosterone topic, though, trans fat, sugar, soda is no good. Orange juice from a container loaded with sugar. I just don't recommend. Those are all blockers of natural testosterone production.
Yeah. No, and to your point, it is one of those things that's insidious in the fact that, I mean, you say that, and obviously, I'm like, yeah, process it, whatever. But the thing is, it's sneaky because, I mean, the one thing that I had learned about originally when they started making low-fat food was like, oh, let's take the fat out and then let's pump some sugar into it so it tastes good. Right. And you find in all kinds of things that I never suspected before. I'm like, okay, we got bread, we got even some meats, they'll pump sugar into it. I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And you'll see a lot of like the vegan food that they make now is highly processed and they add sugar to it. Why? Because it tastes better. And not only sugar, it's like high fructose corn syrup. They got these different syrups that they make and these combinations. I'm like, oh man, this is like it's just as bad as sugar, and it does the exact same thing because ultimately, to your point, it spikes insulin, right? And that insulin spike is like, yo, man, I try to go against that. And I mean, for me, I would just view it from a fat burning perspective. And to your point, you can't really burn all that much fat when you got elevated levels of insulin, estrogen's on high, your body wants to store that fat. It doesn't want to burn it. So
exactly. So if you want to burn the glucose, CJ, the best way to burn glucose is the sprints that I talked about when you do the HIIT exercise. When you can get on a treadmill or even down the street of your house and you run full speed for about a minute, that breaks down all the lactic acid that's built up by the glucose, by the sugar, and that'll break it down immediately.
Yeah. And it's
Okay.
Lale McDonald. He actually has a hit program, and it looks just like that. You know, it's a combination of
Right.
different things where it's like the first thing he has people do is do hit training, right? And
There
then
you
10
go.
minutes after that, it's like, all right, cool. Now go walk on a treadmill at an incline. You ain't got no more carbs left, bro. You know, the
Right. Right.
glycogen's been destroyed. So that's
Right.
kind of where you start
Exactly.
burning that fat for fuel.
Exactly. And not only that, when you do the sprints and you're lifting, weights, you don't have to bench press 375. You can bench press whatever you feel like bench press. Just
Yeah.
just do the exercise right. But to increase testosterone when it comes to weightlifting, there's two body parts that I recommend to increase testosterone. And one is your legs, and the other is your back.
Back. Yeah.
Those,
Posterior
those are
chain.
the two those are the two biggest muscles on your body is your back muscles and your leg muscles. So I would exercise my legs and my back more often than my biceps or my shoulders, you know, um, or my calves. I would to increase testosterone, it's the back and the legs.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you're 100% right about that because it's almost like, and the thing is, usually for working out those muscles, if you're gonna do a pull day where you're working out your back, you're gonna be using your forearms, your triceps are gonna be stabilizing, your chest is gonna be, your whole body's at work. The
There you go.
core, I mean, the worst core days where I felt the most soreness was from front squats, man, where it's just like I
Uh-huh.
just feel that burn, and I'm like, ah, God, I'm
Yeah,
not even
yeah,
working
yeah.
out abs today, but I feel it all in my core, right? So.
Right.
No, to your point, I mean, ultimate muscle recruitment does come from these exercise, well, from these muscle groups, and obviously, when you incorporate that, you feel a complete difference in your body, man. And obviously, you know what? Elevated levels of testosterone, I'm all about it.
Exactly. So with the sprints though, also, right, CJ, when you do sprints, you also build up nitric oxide.
Yeah,
So nitric oxide, it opens up all the vessels in your veins for a stronger blood flow. When you have blood flow is a great production of testosterone. When you
yeah,
have good blood flow, okay, and that's what raises your libido is blood flow. So with the sprints and nitric oxide, it just builds up nitric oxide uh, along with I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but I'm here to educate people if they didn't. Uh, Eating raw ginger. I eat raw ginger
no.
every single morning. I
Raw
eat,
ginger?
yeah, I buy fresh ginger, right? My wife peels it. She chops it up. I fill it up 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of raw ginger is equivalent to 4 ounces of ginger. So
Hmm.
you take a scoop of chopped up ginger, I know with a teaspoon, eat it. I eat it with a couple of pieces of pineapple to get my natural vitamin C from pineapple, which has more vitamin C than oranges, by the way, is
Yeah.
pineapple. Okay. So when I eat the ginger increases nitric oxide, it increases your dopamines, it increases your serotonin, it reduces inflammation in your body, which also will block testosterone inflammation. So ginger is like a wonder drug, and it's not a drug, but it
Yeah.
is. It's like a wonder drug. It just makes you. If you eat the ginger, I buy organic. If you don't buy organic, it's okay too. Just peel it, wash it good because of the pesticides. Because anything that you eat with pesticides is another. See,
Yeah.
that's the thing with life. There's so many things about life, and I could go on with you, CJ, forever because
Yeah.
uh, look, pesticides. You know, the farmers they can't keep up. Making strawberries and blueberries. They got to spray more and more pesticides to feed the supermarkets because there's a lot of people today. My generation, there wasn't that many people, so
Yeah.
farmers really didn't spray vegetables and fruit with pesticides. So yeah, so pesticides is another hormone interrupter. It'll interrupt your hormone production. Would be pesticides. Also, I talk about pollution. We can't get away from Wi-Fi. People go, oh great, I got Wi-Fi. Oh great, I got a cell phone. Right? They put the
Yeah.
cell phone in their pants or they put it in their pocket. Well, guess what? The radiation from pollution and cell phones and Wi-Fi will also harm your hormones. So you got to
Yeah.
protect yourself. You know, if you're on a cell phone, use a headset. Don't talk on the phone like this because all the radiation is going in your body. And what does
Yeah.
radiation do? Radiation kills you. It'll kill you eventually. It'll kill you. So, you know, drinking water out of a people go by, I'm gonna give me a water, Poland Springs water. Yeah. You're drinking the water out of a plastic bottle? Wrong. Bad move.
Yep.
You know why? You got chemicals in the plastic now that it's in the water and you're drinking it.
Yep.
I will I won't drink water from a plastic bottle.
Yeah, and
Uh-uh.
the thing is, it's kind of like to your point about all the microplastics. I remember looking up a stat that said that most people in the United States or North America, so Canada, the States, will usually consume the equivalent amount of a credit card or a debit card's worth of plastics
Yep,
in the food that they ate in the last month. And
exactly.
I'm like, yo, how do you get away from that, right? Like, it's disgusting. But that being said, it's difficult because all the stuff that we eat these days, it all comes wrapped up in plastic or some other
Right.
toxic material. And to
Exactly.
your point about, the cell phones too, the infertility rates that are rising is because, we have our Bluetooth on, you got your Wi-Fi on, you know
Yep.
what, you put in your back pocket, you put in your front pocket, your cell phone's right there radiating your nuts all day. And then you're like, oh, I don't know why I can't have kids, and it's interesting because more and more guys are suffering from this, which wasn't, I think it was still prevalent maybe, but now that I started looking into it, I don't think it was as big an issue as it is today, where so many guys are just suffering with infertility.
Exactly. Exactly. So, if you can just stay away from all these things that I talked about, because this is what I do, this is how I live my life. I know there are people out there who know me and they go, you live a boring life. Okay, I live a boring life. Let me tell you something. Throughout my life, I ate in the best restaurants in every state that I went to, even if I went to Europe. I ate in the best restaurants. I don't need that anymore.
Yeah,
Back then that was my ego. Lifting weights, that was my ego. If you see me today, I have a 30-year-old body. I'm going to be 64 in October. I have a 30-year-old body. I have a six pack. I'm ripped. I go to the gym every morning when I wake up. CJ, I do 105 push-ups every single morning.
yeah,
And I used to drink 8 cups of coffee a day because my testosterone level was low. So I was tired all the time. I'd drink
yeah.
another cup of coffee, go for another cup of coffee. Today, in the last 4 years, I drink 1 cup of coffee a day.
Yeah. And that just kind of
Uh,
goes to your point. But, you pair that with the good sleep habits, the proper nutrition, probably don't feel like you need a liter of coffee anymore.
exactly, exactly. And studies again have shown that men in their 30s, their testosterone levels are decreasing earlier.
Yeah.
Normally it decreases between 40, 50, and 60. Now at 30, guy goes get his testosterone level checked. He's at 250. 250, he needs help because the range for normal testosterone is from 300 to 700. That's
Yeah.
the normal range. Now, when you're on PEDs, forget it. Your testosterone is 1,000, 1,200. It's like off the hook. But
Yeah.
like now, my testosterone level, I run between 550, 650, like that. So I'm good. 64 years old, I'm good.
I'd say
I'm
so.
okay.
I'd say
Yeah,
so. And to me,
yeah,
what, more than anything, Chris, is like this is living proof that you can do it naturally,
yeah.
right?
You can do it
And
naturally.
I'm taking things from this, conversation. Definitely the part about the ginger and the pineapple. I'm stealing that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. There you
I'm
go.
definitely stealing that because I'm like,
Good
hey,
for
you know
you.
what? Now I've heard about ginger being used for this reason, but I never really incorporated it. But I'm like, okay, proof is in the pudding. If you're
Yeah,
64 and this is working out,
yeah.
cool, man.
C, CJ, ginger is a big Chinese medicine. Is ginger. This goes back from years up in China, up Tibet. They all take ginger. All the monks, they're on ginger
Yeah,
because ginger's it's a healthy. I don't even know if you call it a vegetable or a fruit.
yeah,
But all I know is it helps me. it makes me happy. I eat ginger, half hour later, I'm happy. I feel
Yeah.
good. My dopamines are good. You know, people that take drugs, they take dopamines to get happy. I don't need that. I eat ginger to get happy.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's kind of like, and this is my philosophy now, the older I get, you know, before when I was younger, I used to be more like, I got to take these supplements for everything, this is the way to go. But now the older I get, the more I realize how much more important food is, right? And I really believe that food can heal us. And I think it was Plato that said, let food be thy medicine. And I think it's true. I also feel that when you regulate it properly and you know what you're consuming, it can definitely change everything inside of your body for the better. And be it ginger, like another one that I've looked into is beet juice, right? Or beets. I
Yes.
don't like beets at all. I'll be honest, man. I could eat junk food all day. I love cake. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
ice cream. I love all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I try to regulate if I am gonna eat it. And to your
Right.
point, if I'm gonna have, an insulin spiking meal, I better have some apple cider vinegar to go with it, just to curtail
Right.
some of the effects of it. But
Exactly.
the other thing that I love is that when you're doing it naturally, you're not disrupting your endocrine system, right? Because
Right.
if you're juicing, your estrogen levels are shooting up right there with it, right? Your
There you
progesterone's
go.
going up. But if
Yep.
you're doing it naturally the way you are, man, I think this makes way more sense. And I mean, in the
Right.
long run, why wouldn't you want to stay healthy for longer?
Exactly. I know this heart surgeon. His name is Philip. He tells me, Chris, every time I'm ready to do open heart surgery, the the patient always says, "Doctor, why me?" You know what he tells them? He has this, he gives everyone the same answer because you didn't eat real food,
Um,
and real food is fruits and vegetables, grass fed meat. You got to watch meat that you eat that's loaded with all the chemicals that they put in the meat.
yeah,
So I eat grass fed meat only. I won't never, eat regular meat. It's got to be grass fed, or I don't eat it. Um, uh, things to things that you should be eating. If you like oysters, they're high in zinc. They increase testosterone incredibly. Like omega 3 proteins are all in oysters. Wild caught salmon, and I'm going to say this strongly: do not eat salmon raised from a farm.
yeah,
You can't eat that. You can't eat that fish. It's toxic. You know why? They eat their own poo,
yeah.
and then you're going to buy it at the store. Hey, I'm eating salmon tonight. Everyone thinks they're eating healthy. Yeah. What kind of salmon did you eat? He goes, I got salmon from the guy down the block. He doesn't sell Alaskan wild caught salmon. Now that's the fish that you should be eating: high omega 3, high in proteins, ver, ver, mental health, good for mental health. I said omega 3. Uh, let's see, pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
You realize how good pumpkin seeds are for you?
Loaded with zinc. Yes, sir.
Loaded with zinc, kills all radicals, magnesium, all natural. That's that's the every night I eat pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
After my dinner, my wife gives me, her homemade, because my wife is, she's big on health also. She also trains. My wife won 3 championships and body competition. She wasn't a
Nice.
bodybuilder. She was doing body physique. Yeah, she did body physique.
Physique. Nice,
So
nice.
my
Yes.
wife and I have so much in common. Yeah, yeah. My wife also has her own podcast. She talks about health and well being on her podcast. So yeah, so she gives me all my nutrients, which is my fruit salad, or she makes me gelatin. All no sugar,
Yeah.
all natural, all fresh, and then I get one big handful of pumpkin seeds, and I'm good, man. I'm gonna upload pictures on my site soon because I know people want to see what I look like. You
Yeah.
know, I said my insides on my blood exam, CJ. I my insides, my blood pressure, everything is equivalent to a 20-year-old man.
Yeah.
The outside of my body, I look like a 30-year-old man. I'm ripped. You know, you would never believe that I'm 64 years old.
But the
You know,
thing is, for me, it's the proof is in the pudding, right?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and like you mentioned earlier, and I think I don't know. I think life is changing as a whole. I think more people are open to it. But I really
Hmm.
feel that more and more people are like, dude, I don't need to live this fake lavish lifestyle or eat at these restaurants and have this sunflower, oil douse food all the time. Like I think a lot of people are making that shift. At least my
Right.
wife and I were the same way, and that's kind of why I resonate with that. And I do men's physique, right? So that's kind of why I'm like, oh, cool, So
Oh,
the ins and
cool.
outs of the game, right? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
eating
all.
healthy and staying healthy and making sure you stay regulated and all that. But it's
Hmm.
almost like just being in touch with your body. And to your point, it's like, hey, you know what? It might seem boring to some, but when you feel this good, it's like, do I want to eat this shitty food or do I
Right,
want to feel great? And
right.
that's kind of where I'm like, the ultimately the choice is yours. And to do it naturally is, I mean, that's the cherry on top, right? But the thing is, a lot of people don't even know that's possible, which is why I love what
Exactly.
you're doing, man. And honestly, yeah,
Thank
like
you.
as
Thank
far
you.
as your book goes, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But the one thing I wanted to ask now is there anything else that we didn't touch on? We touched on pollution, the food. I was
We
gonna, oh,
talk, we talk,
supplements.
yeah, with supplements. Okay, so supplements. I did take, supplements, and I'll give you two. There's others in the book, but I'll tell you two supplements that I went on. One of them was Long Jack. It's Tonkat Ali.
Tom Cataly, yeah,
Yeah, Tonkat Ali is it's almost equivalent to taking testosterone. That's how powerful it is. And it's been around for hundreds of years also. It's Tonkat Ali. So I went on Tonkat Ali. I went on a bunch of things before all this, and
yeah,
nothing worked. Nothing worked because testosterone is a big business today.
yeah.
You read a container, oh, raises testosterone. People go, get it. It's a good. I did all that. I spent so much money, but I found the right um, roots, all plant based that work. One of them supplement was Tonkat Ali, and the other one was Fandogia. Fandogia,
Fandogia.
yeah, Fandogia agrestis. They
Interesting.
go good together. If anyone is listening and you want to do this on your own, I'm going to give you the two supplements that you first should buy. One is Tonkat Ali, OGIA, Fandogia agrestis. If you take those two together, because they work in combination, they work good together. Watch what happens to your body. And I'm going to say, in about 6 to 8 weeks, watch the difference in your body. Watch what happens.
Interesting.
You get more energy. You feel good mentally. Mental health is good, and you get strength from it, endurance. I Most athletes take it. By the way, football players, they can't take any PEDs,
Yeah.
so they go to supplement and they take supplements. A lot of athletes take these supplements. So those are two supplements that I recommend are going on. Other than
Interesting.
that, uh, alcohol.
Mm,
Drinking alcohol. Okay, everybody likes to have a couple of drinks maybe on the weekend, right? That's okay. But if you're going to drink every day, testosterone goes down.
yeah.
It decreases when you drink. I don't know if people experience it when you're young, you're drinking, you know, maybe you want to be intimate with your girlfriend back then, but you couldn't because you got drunk.
Yeah, I've
Why
been
you got?
there.
Yeah, right, right. And you wonder, I woke up the next morning, I was drunk. They couldn't perform because alcohol. Alcohol shuts down production of nitric oxide, which you need, and it shuts down testosterone. So if you're going to drink, you know, drink moderate. I look, my wife and I, twice a week, we share one glass of wine twice a week.
Yeah.
We share it. We're not big drinkers. I'm not a big drinker. I never was. My life, I was always a leader. So being a leader, I had to set examples for people. And one example was I don't need to get drunk.
Exactly. No, and honestly, it's kind of it doesn't really leave you with a whole lot. The only thing it really leaves you with is a headache and an empty wallet. So for myself, yeah, I learned that lesson now, where it's just like there's no point to it really, unless I'm really going
Exactly.
out at some type of social event, like let's say somebody's getting married, something like that. Fine, it
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
the one off, but I honestly,
Right.
man, I haven't touched a drink in probably like 2 years now, just because I have no need for it. Maybe when I go
Right.
on vacation again, sure, but it's not one of those things that like really calls my attention the way it used to, right? And I think that just
Right.
kind of comes with maturing too. It's like, what's the point? You know, do I really
Right.
want to drink vodka every night? You know, do I really want to drink whiskey? Like, no, not really, man.
Right. Exactly. And then people think, to have fun. This is the mind now. This is the mental thing. To have fun, they have to have a drink. Me, to have fun, I don't need to drink. If I
Exactly.
want fun, I could be fun just like now talking to you. I can have fun.
Exactly.
When I go to the gym, you know how happy I am that I'm having fun. I actually like what I'm
Exactly.
doing. I'm actually
Yeah.
loving what I'm doing. I don't go, oh, people go, oh, really? It's my turn. Oh, if you're working out with somebody, which I don't work out with anybody anymore, but I did, and they go, oh, really? You want me to lift that? Well, guess what? I have fun without alcohol. I have fun because I'm happy. I
Yeah.
I learned over the years self love. If you love yourself enough and you're patient with life and you're patient with people, with yourself, everything else flourishes. Everything else just comes natural. You become a better husband, become a better father, you just become a better co-worker. If you work with people, you just become a better person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
one thing that's interesting now that you bring that up and how like it improves mood and all that, and obviously as a person, mentally, and I figure that also comes with like age where you also develop wisdom, right? But one thing
exactly.
that I kind of was thinking, what kind of contrast can you say you see in yourself? Like, let's say you were a leader back in your 40s, right? Versus
Yeah.
who you are now, where it's like, I'm still that same person, but my approach is probably different. What's the biggest difference you can tell with like the elevated testosterone levels versus who you were when you were like, let's say, in your 40s, still in a leadership position, but how would you handle it differently? And how do you think the elevated testosterone affects that?
Well, age plays a big difference between 40 and 64. I do know in my 40s as a leader, I always acted like a leader. But there have been moments when I was in my 40s that I lost it. Like
Yeah.
I would lose it, like out of control. Today I don't do that. I'm 64. When something serious goes down, something happens, I'm more preserved. I have enough experience and wisdom not to do what I did when I was 40 or fly off the handle, we call it.
Yeah.
I don't fly off the handle like I did, So, and back in your 40s, my testosterone level must have been 1,000, back then. And by being 1,000, you can fly off the handle because your testosterone levels are so high,
Yeah.
So now that you're older and, you got more experience, you know what not to do, you know how to handle different situations. Um, so I hope I answered that question. That was a good question, by the way. I like it.
Well,
I,
yeah, it's
I,
just kind of
I
that
like it.
contrast, yeah, because I could imagine it's almost like there are certain things and life lessons that we just kind of learn along the way. But obviously,
True.
you want to make sure that you're in a good space, but at the same time, with the elevated levels of testosterone and all that and feeling good, I know it's got to impact it positively, right? And
Yeah.
I know that like, if you're lethargic or whatever, brain fog, things can get kind of muddy sometimes, right? Or,
Yeah.
there's also the fact that, maybe when you were juicing at like 50, that it's kind of not the greatest thing for you. You could probably fly off the handle there, but it's
Yeah.
probably something worse.
You yeah. Yeah. You can. You can't fly off the handle. You touched on something that's really interesting. Low testosterone is very dangerous.
Yeah.
You lose. First, you lose your mental health, and then you lose everything else. You lose your body mass. You just lose everything else. Everything doesn't work. The libido, you have no libido. But most important is mental health. Testosterone is the best for mental health. People commit suicide because their testosterone level was too low.
Yeah.
So, they fall into a deep depression and then, I'm depressed. Yeah. And then they try to find all these things why they're depressed. Their job, their car's not working. But guess what? Your testosterone level was probably too low. And you need to go to a doctor because it's more underlying than what you think it is. So, if I'm not feeling good, like for a month straight, which that won't happen because I'm on top of my game now. But if I
Yeah.
didn't, I would go to a doctor first and say, I'm not feeling good. And then let them take a blood exam and check your testosterone and your hormone level because that's crucial for mental health. People think, oh, I'm taking testosterone to get muscle. Okay. Well, I'm taking testosterone because I want mental health. Big difference. You know,
Yeah.
if you got the ego, you're taking testosterone because you got the ego. I'm one of them guys. When I was 52, I started taking it because you know my ego. I still had an ego, but once I lost that, and I said I'm going to put the ego aside. The ego is still there, but I'm going to put it aside.
Yeah.
Once in a while the ego does want to come out. But I say, hey, I talk to the ego, you might think I'm crazy, but you stay right where you are. I'm happy the way I am now. Leave me alone. I don't want that ego no more. I'm here
No,
to help. I want to help you. I want to help these guys today. You got low testosterone, go get yourself checked out, man. You want to go on a program? You don't have to go on my program. If somebody else has an all natural way, to do, and you go on theirs, God bless you. If you want to go on my program, I have a page, by the way, CJ. It's
yeah.
it's fitforjoy.org, self healing with Chris. If you
Okay.
could go on my page, I'm going to upload pictures in the next couple of weeks, so people can actually see what I look like, my body. But it's not only the body; it's more than the body.
The
Okay,
mind. Yeah.
I'm a motivational speaker. I help a lot of young people. I help even people my age or older than me. I'm a man that wants to help people and give back.
Yeah.
That's my purpose.
No, and I'll make sure all the links are in the description as well. So don't worry, Chris. And in the intro that I'm going to do separate to this, I'll make sure that all this stuff is there as well. But
Okay.
it's interesting because I was recording another podcast episode this morning as well, and one of the things that came up in the conversation that we were having was the importance of figuring something out, overcoming whatever that problem is, and then sharing that with everybody else. Because I
Right.
mean, what good is it for you to have all this information now? You've learned all this stuff, you've come through this journey, you overcame all these issues, and then just die not sharing it. Like it seems
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
it's the legacy piece, and I think that for a lot of us, it's kind of like we get to a point in our lives where it's like I learned all this information, but I want to share it. Like there's no point
Right.
for me to just hoard this and keep it all to myself. And kudos to you for bringing it out and putting it out there because there's a lot of guys that could use this program and I know would benefit from,
Exactly.
elevating their levels of testosterone once again and things that maybe they didn't even realize, but from today's episode, they can say, hey, you know what? I think I might have low testosterone levels. And before I reach out and talk to the guy at the gym who's going to be like, hey, don't worry, I got that D-ball or DECA or whatever the case may
Right.
be. It's
Right.
like maybe I'll try this natural road first and see how I feel afterwards.
Right. Right. Do you have a copy of my book, CJ?
Oh no, I don't, but dude, definitely, yeah.
And let me hold up my book here so your audience can see it. Here's my book. Okay.
Gotcha.
And then I have another book that I wrote. It's called Belonging to Yourself. This,
Gotcha.
if you want to get to know Chris Terzakos, everything is in this book. If you want to get to know him, it's a memoir. It's about my whole life with this
Okay.
book. Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
I've been through a lot of different things in my life. I lost, family members at a young age. I lost my best friend. He got murdered. I write about it all in the book. I wrote, what kind of people I was associated with in New York, how I ran unions. There's a lot of things in that book that, I wrote about it. It's all real. I wrote, my near death experiences in that book. I was almost killed twice. So, yeah, so it's all in that book. I grew up in a big Italian neighborhood. I'm Greek, but I was a tough guy, So the Italians, they liked me, and they took me under their wing. And, I had a good life. Everything was good.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, we're running out of time for today, but I think next time we're gonna talk about that book.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in that book. Oh, CJ, you and I will have fun talking about that. I'll even share because listen, I have nothing to hide today. I'm transparent. This is Chris. Whether you like me, whether you don't like me, But I would like to get back. You're a very good host. First, I want to thank you again.
Hey, thank
I've
you.
been on many podcasts. I got to tell you, you're one of the top five now. I'll tell my wife. She always asks me about the host because she's a host.
Nice, nice.
But if we can get together again and you want to talk about belonging to yourself, I'd be more than happy to share that with you.
No, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious now because I only saw the first book, right, about testosterone, but definitely getting to know you as a person and your story. I love
Yeah,
that, man. Like,
yeah.
I love the
There's
stories. That's kind of why, it always draws me to people.
there's interesting. In this book, there's a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah.
Okay, and we all know life has a lot of twists and turns. But in this book, throughout my life, that I can speak for me, I had a lot of twists and turns in my life. A lot.
Interesting, man. On
All right.
that note, man, any closing words before we head out today?
The only thing I like to tell the audience is let's start with self love. Once you got that self love, then everything else flourishes. Like I mentioned that earlier. Just love yourself, be good to yourself, be good to your wife, be good to your kids, and everything else, all good will happen. Just have patience in life and be dedicated to your family and to yourself.
Love that, man. Positive note. And on that note, again, check the links. They will all be in the description. Hey, but that's all for today's episode. And again, thank you for coming on, Chris. Learned a lot, and I can't wait to talk to you again, man.
Oh, great. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Hey, you too, brother.